Immediate past president of the Catholic Bishops' Conference and the current Archbishop of Tamale, Most Reverend Philip Naume, to Parliament. Parliament's Legal and Constitutional Affairs Committee has recommended the passage of the anti-LGBTQ bill under a new name, Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill 2021. The legislation seeks to prohibit same-sex relationships and any activities related to LGBTQ+, including advocacy, with jail terms for offenders. Now, speaking to 3FM News, Most Reverend Philip Naume says Parliament should not hesitate to pass the law after the new considerations.
We will expect that Parliament should pass it as law. The framing of the law was very much scrutinized that no part of it contradicts human rights. And that's part of the democracy too. For example, if you advertise your house and somebody comes to say, oh, I want to rent your house, and you say, we won't rent it to you because we hear you are gay or you're lesbian. We have to, unfortunately, agree that this will amount to discrimination. But all the same, for example, people asking for various churches for a blessing of homosexual unions. First of all, it's not marriage. It's a misnomer to call it marriage. So those are the things we're talking about.
He has, however, cautioned Ghanaians not to take the laws into their own hands in relation to persons who identify as LGBTQ.
Well, once the process has started, for me, it's important that in terms of fairness to those members who live in Ghana, to see that nobody is hunting out for them or nobody wants to victimize them. Let due process take its course. And then when it is legalized against them, then we see that a fair trial was given also to them.
That was the immediate past president of the Catholic Bishops' Conference and the current Archbishop of Tamale, Most Reverend Philip Naume. Now, Ms. Reactions has greeted a proposal by NPP stalwart Peter McMahon for parties to handpick a member to replace any member of Parliament who dies while in office or vacates his seat. He has been making a strong case for this provision at an IEA forum days after NPP MP for Kubewu Philip Atta Basua passed away. According to Mr. McMahon, the move would deal with the acrimony and hostilities that characterize by-elections in Ghana in the event if a sitting MP dies or vacates his or her seat.
When President Obama, as a senator, was elected as president in December, his seat as a senator was filled by the Democratic Party. It wasn't filled by a by-election. So we are saying that when a person dies, or for whatever reasons, resignation, the party that brought him into Parliament during the general election must be given the opportunity, like the United States does, to replace him, so that the acrimony, the costs, etc., associated with by-elections will be a thing of the past.
Executive Director of Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs, Dr. Rashid Draman, who agrees with the call, says such an arrangement could lead to cutting down cost of organizing by-elections and also the issue of violence during the process, especially involving the two main parties, the NPP and the NDC.
It's a call in the right direction. I don't know what is needed. Whether just simply tinkering with the Constitution is enough, or we have to go and touch our electoral system. I think there are many who have called for some changes to our electoral system. So beyond just simply that issue of replacement in by-elections, I think there is a much bigger conversation.
But a professor of political science at the University of Ghana, Professor Ransford Jampo, says that cannot be feasible.
I think what he's proposing shows a certain fundamental misunderstanding of the concept of representation that places power in the hands of ordinary constituents, ordinary human beings, ordinary people, in determining who must represent their interests, on the floor of Parliament and not about political parties. Before political parties were birthed, people were sending representatives to Parliament to check the administration and governance of the monarch. Okay? And so its representation is not about political parties.
You heard Professor of Political Science at the University of Ghana, Professor Ransford Jampo speaking there. Let's turn attention to some of the stories. Parliament Select Committee on Defence and Interior will be demanding the raw CCTV footage of the incident leading to the death of one Shadrach Alo at the West Hills Mall in Accra. Earlier reports indicated the young man was allegedly murdered by some security men and police officers who have denied the allegations. But Member of Parliament for Jomro in the Western region, Dorcas Afotofe, says the committee is not satisfied with the footages provided by the police, hence their intention to write to them for the raw footages. She was speaking on Onuya FM's Drive Time show, Efie with Dr. Prekese on Thursday. She explained that the committee met the Interior Minister Ambrose Derry, the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Ekufu-Dampare, the pathologist and family, but lawyer Francis Xavier Sosu, who was the briefed family's lawyer, was not allowed into the meeting. Let's do some more stories. And the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, is expected to release a power outage timetable to guide consumers as gas supply to some power plants is going to be affected for the next 14 days. This is due to a shutdown of the Atuabo gas processing plant in the Western region, expected to ensure efficiency of the plant. Martin Asiudidate reports.
Electricity consumers in Ghana may have to brace themselves for another 2 weeks of power outage because the Atuabo gas processing plant from which we get gas to produce power is going to be shut down for maintenance works, and that will last for at least 2 weeks. The Energy Ministry in a statement says that in the immediate term, they are looking at importing gas from Nigeria to feed these power producing institutions. But ECG and Gridco, that is the distributor and the transmitter of power in the country, have also released a joint statement confirming the fact that the lack of supply of gas is going to have an adverse impact on power consumption in the country.
Meanwhile, the Africa Center for Energy Policy says the load shedding schedule should be effectively planned to prevent losses. Ben Boachi is Executive Director of ACE.
I hope it doesn't affect big industries that need not shut down, or it may cost significant cost to them if they shut down and restart their businesses. There are some production processes when you restart, you lose so much money. And I hope that they'll be able to segment those and keep them on the grid. There's going to be economic loss, which we are always not able to estimate. So we freely shut the power when we want to, even when we can expect, these shutdowns to happen. So it's certainly going to have a toll on the economy and some businesses as well. And the worst part is that if you have a take-or-pay agreement with a power producer, what it means is that even though they're not going to generate power, we are still going to have to pay them for it.
Ben, always a delight speaking to you. Benjamin Boachi is the Executive Director of the Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP.
Let's get ourselves updated on 3news.com about how the schedule is on how people are going to not be able to have electricity. So if you visit 3news.com, you can get to see the timetable that ECG provided for various communities and at what time or what point you will not be having electricity to avoid rather, unfortunate happenings in our homes. Now, management of the University of Ghana has described as misleading claims by some members of parliament that the institution has disregarded a court order asking it to halt a new residential policy. In a statement issued on Thursday, March 30, to counter statements made on the floor of Parliament on Wednesday, the university said it has not violated any court order, as the MPs claim. There's more in this report.
The University of Ghana was directed by an Accra High Court to halt a new residential policy which removed continuing male students of the Commonwealth and Mensa summer halls. a former resident of the Commonwealth Hall and MP for Bilsa South, Clement Apak, on Wednesday told Parliament the refusal of the university to comply with the court's directive is unacceptable and illegal.
The management of the University of Ghana have refused to act in accordance with the dictates of the order.
But the university has faulted some assertions the lawmaker made. According to management, no court directive has been violated, adding that the new residential policy was implemented even before the order of injunction. Meanwhile, First Deputy Speaker of Parliament Joseph Osei-Owusu has tasked the Education Committee of Parliament to investigate the matter.
I will refer this statement to the Committee of Education to ask them to engage the university and to report back to us.
The Ghana Revenue Authority GRA has rolled out online electronic tax clearance for all taxpayers. Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, who launched the project, charged the GRA to ensure that more taxpayers are roped into the tax bracket. The electronic tax clearance certificate is to make the payment of taxes easier by improving on the turnaround time of businesses oriented to Ghanaians. Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, who commissioned the project, asked the GRA to rope in more taxpayers.
At any point in time, given the tools that have been put in place, any point in time, we will know who has filed their taxes and who has not filed. We will also know which property owners have paid their property taxes and who have not. Anybody can find their tax status. So it is incumbent on the GRA to leverage all these pillars and digital technology to ensure and enforce compliance.
Commissioner General of GRA, Reverend Dr. Amishadayo Owusu-Amwa, called on professional bodies to ensure that their members provide tax clearance certificate before renewing the license.
Since we started this, we have now insisted that all light taxpayers must file electronically. But we are also encouraging all of us, individuals, to also file electronically.
Well, before we go, the Electricity Company of Ghana wishes to inform the general public that due to the maintenance works being carried out at the Ghana National Gas Company at Atuabo, there is a power generation shortfall. And in this regard, please find below some of the load management schedule from Thursday, March 30 to Friday, April 7, 2023, which is going to be happening from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. And most of the areas that have been mentioned in Group A has South Odoko, they have Awoshi, Trasako, and a whole lot of places. If you go to another sections as well, somewhere in the Volta region, they have Sugakope, they have the Adidome Township. If you go to the Ashanti region, they have Ifiakobi Market, they have the Cocoa Clinic, they have Bompata, and a lot more. Somewhere in Tema, they have the Tema Community 5 area, which is going to be affected as well, Junction Mall, and a lot more. In Western, they have Diabene and Kofo and Kasa Uradu, and Takofo, Mountain Zion, and a lot more communities that will be affected over there. Somewhere in the eastern region, in Suta and Kwetia Township, and a lot more central, they have the Bedukrom, Ewutubrekum, Senya, Breku, Gomwa Fete, and a lot more. And in Accra as well, again, they have the Malam Junction and part of Dansoman Snit Flats, Ajengano, part of America House, and part of Airport City going to be affected as well. So do get yourself updated if you log on to 3news.com to get to know at what point you will be affected. My name is Godwin Asediba, and this has been the morning news here on 3FM 92.7. The show continues shortly with Helen, William, and Johnny Hughes.